So landscapers are going through this thing where you get 2 vans, is it? So yourself and then 2 vans, so you've got 2 squads essentially. And then there's this ceiling where getting that 3rd van and keeping it and maintaining it and having enough work, there seems to just be a ceiling that most aren't able to go through.
By getting to that 3rd van is the hardest point. I struggle to manage it. A couple of times we've tried to go to that 3rd van, and the problem we've had is finding the right people.
As I said to you, like, you already know how to do it. You're just not really kind of committing to doing it.
It's scary making that jump. I've had my fingers burnt. How do I move forward again and try and protect myself?
It's probably a decision, a firm decision to say, I'm going to go through that ceiling and I'm just going to make it work. Hi guys, welcome to Taylor Talks Trades. I'm your host, Jamie Taylor. Thank you for joining me today, and remember to hit subscribe so you can help us grow the channel and bring you more episodes like this. Today we are joined by Gavin Gray from LCL Landscaping and Gardening. He tells us the story of how he got into landscaping, from working on the pitch at Motherwell Football Club to starting his own business, which has now been running for 10 years. Gavin talks about the struggles that come with growth, including expanding to a 3rd van and building a larger team, and the challenges that brings. We break it all down and I try to offer Gavin some solutions to the problems he's facing. Let's get into the show. Hi Gavin, welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks very much.
I'll just start where I always start. How did you get into the trades then, mate?
So when I was younger, I used to volunteer at Motherwell on a match day at Fir Park. My old man, he worked there for 40 years, and the opportunity came up the season after Gretna had been there. So I'd worked on a Saturday for Motherwell, and then I'd worked the following week when Gretna were ground sharing, and then the opportunity came up to get an apprenticeship as assistant groundsman. Originally I wanted to be a plumber, and I was focused on that. I was chasing to be a plumber. I had tried everything and gotten a shout out on real radio to try and even get an apprenticeship. Couldn't get anything, and then the opportunity came and I grabbed it with both hands.
That's brilliant. I've never heard, what was the shout out on real radio? Was that a campaign they were doing for apprenticeships or something?
So they used to do, I can't remember the proper name of it, and it was like you would phone into them and they would put an announcement out on the radio. And I done that. I wrote to my MP. Gordon Brown was on the telly at the time as the Prime Minister, saying we're spending so much money on apprenticeships, and I wrote to him saying, I can't get one, I'm trying to get one, I can't get it. He put me on to my MP, and my MP wrote back saying, what benefits are you on? And I'm like, oh well, I'll not vote for the Labour Party then if that's
crazy.
Your answer.
That's crazy. And what made you want to be a plumber?
My dad was a plumber,
right,
and he had started his own business at that point, and I had been out working with him before school, after school, weekends. I wasn't working at Motherwell. I've always wanted to earn my own money. Mm-hmm. It's no about the amount of money I enjoy, it's the earning of the money, which probably sounds a bit sad.
Is that the control, or just knowing that it's your own destiny, so to speak, and on the hands of someone else?
Basically, aye. I've always wanted to earn my own coin, and push forward on my kind of own terms as such. So I had a bit of experience. I went for an exam with the council because they take in so many for every trade, and I went and done all the exams and passed them all, and went for an interview. And in the interview in the Armada Street County Buildings, they asked me what experience I had. Now I'm 16-year-old, and I'd worked with my dad, so I had a bit of experience with fitting boilers, heating systems, bathrooms, all the rest of it. And I talked the guy through how to fit a heating system from scratch, and then I never get the job. He says, don't have enough experience.
That's bizarre.
Somebody's boy must have been earmarked for that job.
Yeah, that is bizarre. And then, so what was the kind of turning point then? So did you have the job at Fir Park at that point?
No.
Was that later?
Aye, that came later. So I'd left school because I'd been promised an apprenticeship by a company in Motherwell.
Right.
I went out to work with him. After 2 weeks, the old guy says, I've got a health problem, I'm going to retire. So I had to chat the door of the school again and get back in. So I went back in for 5th year.
What year was this?
That was 2007.
2007. So I think I was 2006. I started my apprenticeship. It was quite hard getting, to be honest. So I remember I got I went to the job centre and they gave me like a directory. I can't even remember having like Google or that at that time, to be honest. It probably was
a newer thing.
It was probably there, but I don't know. But it was like, it just wasn't as straightforward. Like, I was just like, right, where do you find all these companies? And they just gave me a list of like every one. I'm West Lothian based, so it had and I was just like phoning every single one, trying to go in with like, get a CV printed off, go in. And it was like, honestly, must have been like hundreds of companies. And then it was like only 2 got back. So it's, I think even now though, like people are struggling to get apprenticeships.
Definitely.
For a multitude of different reasons. But it's good that you had the persistence, so, and you kept going, especially when you actually had the experience there and you should have really been getting something. Was it never an option for your dad to take you on, or was he just, because he'd just started, it was maybe a wee bit too much here?
Well, he was doing a big hotel refurb in Pollock, and the builder went pop.
Right.
So he never get paid, and that was the end of that. So when the opportunity came up at Motherwell, I thought, well, it's unlikely that a SPL team's going to go bust, even though they'd been in administration a few years before.
Probably more likely than we would think, to be honest.
Well, true. So I started there, and I left in the January. I left school in the January. Got my leavers form signed at 9 o'clock in the morning and started work at 10.
That was brilliant.
And that was it. I started at college in October. I was there for 3 years. I was the only guy there for a football club. Everybody else was golf courses.
Right, okay.
Greenkeeping's more thought about for a golf course.
Yep.
So I have 3 years at college, 5 years at Motherwell. Had some great experiences. We played Champions League qualifiers. When Rangers had their troubles, we got their position in the league. Went away in Europe. The club took us away to take me to Denmark on the club plane.
Wow.
Loads of different experiences, cup finals, semi-finals. Brilliant. Being a Motherwell supporter, it was the best thing ever. And then the club kind of changed a few different conditions. And my first gaffer at Motherwell, he was working somewhere else. He phoned me, says that company's looking for people. And I went to Mighty, big facilities company. I worked in a landscaping division there for 2 years. And I kept every day in the van. I'm like, I'd love to do the mines thing. Just go and try it. I still stay with my mum at that point. I've only got my car to pay. I've got a wee bit of dig money. I've not got really any responsibilities. So I sold my car and I bought a van, and I was doing homers, what any tradesman does. And it just kind of snowballed from there. I taken 2 weeks off to do a homer. I said to my gaffer at the time, I need somebody to do my gritting. I'm off for 2 weeks, so you need to get somebody to cover. They never got somebody to cover, and the job was a pit lockery. So it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours there to do a 10-minute job, to come back 2 hours. And so I done it, went back into the yard, handed my keys in, handed my resignation, and just went for it. And then that'll be 10 years come April.
That's amazing. So that's like the epitome of the trades though. Like you could have just no got a trade.
I know.
Do you know? You could have just went, no, nobody's taking me on, I'll need to end up somewhere else. But
I could never ever, I always said that when I was younger, I could never go to work with a shirt and tie on every day.
Yeah, the persistence is amazing there. See just a wee bit on the Motherwell bit, what was the day-to-day of that job actually like then? Because I'm thinking, right, they've only got one pitch really. How much can you actually be doing? Or is that quite a full-on thing?
Aye.
Or do you end up picking up other jobs as well and you just...
Aye, you do. Because it's such a small club, it's just a small core of staff at that point. So you would cut the pitch in the morning, and then you would, if you're not putting fertiliser out, or you're not lining it, or not preparing it for a match, you could be fixing seats in the stands, you could be litter picking, you could even be mopping the dance floor in the hospitality suite, help out.
That's quite a good learning.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
Sort of curve.
Aye,
especially if you support the club. Like, that's like a dream come true.
I'd never ever believed in, that's not my job. I never ever liked that.
Do you think it was anything, is that just your work ethic anyway, or do you think that was like because you actually loved Motherwell as well?
Well, a bit of both, aye.
Yeah.
Like, My grandfather kind of taught me, if you've not got the money in your pocket, you can't buy it.
Yep.
And then I figured out how to sign my name on a finance document.
Well, there's always that, yeah.
Aye. So
That's quality, mate. That's good stuff. I like that. And then, so must have been quite hard to kind of move away from there.
it was, because I'd been in and about a match day for I was a wee boy,
Yep.
for about 4-year-old. There's actually a picture in the house of me sitting inside the Scottish Cup when Motherwell won it in '91. I was only 2 months old.
Oh my God.
So there was no chance of me supporting anybody else.
That's brilliant, man.
So there's right up 8 years of age, walking about the dressing rooms, and other teams are coming to Motherwell, and I'm standing at a tunnel getting my sticker book signed and all that.
That's brilliant.
There's only one right enough, and I'll never forgive Martin O'Neill. He barred the Celtic players for signing autographs before a match when he was the manager there.
Right.
So I've got this sticker book, this Perini sticker book. Every player signed in it that full season except Celtic.
Oh, no. Get it back along to him now. He's mellowed a bit now. He'll maybe get it done for you. That's quality.
Aye.
And then and then it was mighty, and then you just, where does the hunger, the sort of desire come from? So you're sitting in the van and you're going, I just want to do my own thing. What does that mean to you at that point? Like, what is it? Because you've not done your own thing before. Is that because you've seen your dad and he done his own thing? Are you picking that up off of somebody else, or is there something in you that's just went, there's an itch?
Aye. I hated being confined to set hours.
Right.
So that 6:30 to 4:00 in the summer, I hated. You're sitting there at 3:30, the job's done, but you need to sit in the van for half an hour before you can get home.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather just job and finish, or job and go to the next one, or whatever. And, that's how I wanted to do it. I thought I can earn more than £6.89 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was in £6.89 an hour.
I know. That's probably another story in itself. When everybody thinks business owners are all millionaires because they see a few vans or whatever, and you've got to market yourself, so it needs to look good to the outside world, but actually there can just be an abundance of things that are underneath there. You're the last one paid.
Aye.
Which, as trades business owners, I guess we all know so well. So you just basically handed the keys in and went, right, I'm off, on the back of a Homer. So did you not have any long-term plan, but you just knew you had to cover your digs, your phone bill, I guess, and your car?
Aye.
You swapped the car for the van, you said, was that right? And then,
aye.
And then, so what did you start doing for there? This is 10 years ago.
10 years ago, April 2016.
Right.
I had a job. It was a full garden, so there was slabbing, there was real grass, there was fencing, all that sort of thing. So I done that, and I just pulled in guys from everywhere for a bit of labour. The job ran on weeks and weeks beyond what it was ever priced for, like every tradesman does at the start. And I had one job booked in after that, and because the first one ran on for as long, that second one cancelled.
Oh, man.
But in 10 years, I've only had 1 week where I never had any work.
Wow.
There was 1 month I specifically took a full January off.
Mm-hmm.
That was about 8 years ago. But apart from that, we've worked every day.
And that's just because you'll put your hand to it as well.
Aye. So
that's brilliant.
The business has changed a few times over the years. So it used to be 1 week grass cutting, 1 week landscaping, and until we got more experience doing bigger jobs and all that sort of thing. And then the landscaping, when COVID hit, it just blew up because everybody's sitting in the house looking at the door at the back garden because they can't go on holiday, spending all the holiday money. And then the kind of snowball effect for that is, somebody sees that on Instagram or Facebook and they want it, and then they put theirs on Instagram, the next person wants it. I would say that kind of COVID wave is just tailing off the new.
Yep.
Because you're running out of gardens today.
Yeah, and that's quite a long time though.
100%.
That's it's nearly 6 years now, to be fair. That's interesting. So how were you picking the work up in the very early bit? What were you actually doing? Did you have like a Facebook page or a website or anything like that? Or?
We had a Facebook page. The van was all sign written. When we done a job, we used to leaflet that street.
Yep.
All the kind of basic stuff at the start, sharing into all the buy and sell groups on Facebook.
Yeah.
Wherever you could.
We spoke about this with Chris McLaughlin, who was just recently on, and what we were saying about the Facebook buy and sells were everybody loves the wee guy who's like him, one van, persistent like you are, and he's just went for it, handed in the notice 2 weeks work, and everybody loves that story. But as soon as you start to pick up a bit and looks like you're doing all right and there's a few vans, it's almost like that tagging just doesn't happen anymore. It's like, no, they're too big for their boots, or they're doing great, they didn't need tagged. I don't know. Have you ever came across that? Because I've had that conversation with a few trades guys.
Aye, definitely. We don't really get tagged in the buy and sell groups
Yeah.
anymore, and we don't tend to get tagged a lot for landscaping, but
Yep.
we get tagged when somebody puts up, oh, I need a grab lorry, or I
Yep.
need type 1, or I need sand.
Yep.
4 or 5 people will put their name forward.
That's great though.
Aye, but the landscaping pays the bills. Landscaping's the
Yeah.
bread and butter.
Yeah.
That's what keeps everybody in a job.
Yeah.
The lorry's just trying to build on that
Mhm.
and become more efficient on our own stuff.
Yep.
So that's where we go with that. But as the business kind of moves forward, as we spoke about the third van thing, I'm starting to think, well, do I need to go down another route? Do I
Yep.
need to? Is it easier to find an HGV driver?
So we'll just give like anybody listening a wee bit of context on this, because so we're having this debate with landscapers and maybe some trades guys in general, but this is picked up for the landscapers that, and we had the conversation with Chris McLaughlin as well, and we spoke about similar and other trade landscapers we've had on. It's so landscapers are going through this thing where you get to 2 vans, is it? So yourself and then 2 vans, so you've got 2 squads essentially.
Yes.
And then there's this ceiling where getting that third van and keeping it and maintaining it and having enough work and looking to grow to the next bit, there seems to just be a ceiling that most aren't able to go through.
Aye.
So that's what we're talking about here. So you're at that conundrum kind of, again, have you been there a few times and you've tried to go through and it's not happened? Or
Well, aye, during COVID, it kind of blew up a wee bit. So there was 12 years at one point, and I had no idea how to
he's
manage
running on
that.
2 vans. You must have went up 2 vans at that point.
Buying them all a bus ticket.
Aye.
No, it was trying to manage all that.
Mhm.
So I'd a couple of vans. We've actually got quite a big kind of, for the size of the company, we've got a decent sized fleet. There's nine vehicles in our fleet.
Right.
2 squads, 1 lorry.
Okay.
But the gritters take up 3 vans all winter.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's them kind of tied up the kind of day and during the day. But then in the summer, we could be sitting idle, or they're running materials about, which you're trying to just keep them ticking over. By getting to that third van is the hardest point. As I say, COVID, we just kind of worked as 2 squads, 2 kind of bigger squads, try to smash the jobs out quicker and all that. I struggle to manage it because I'm going from being a labourer to being a labourer still working a job with a van out grass cutting, and then just blowing up too big too quick. So cut it all back down. A couple of times we've tried to go to that third van. The kind of problem we've had is finding the right people.
Yeah.
You can get the work, go to the vehicles, go to the tools, go to all the kind of things in place to make it work. It's just finding the right people to be in that squad, which is the hardest part.
And do you think that's the same for everybody, or do you think there's other like landscapers there that might, there seems to be good people there and I could take this guy on, but I've not got enough work? Or do you just think it's always a people problem?
No, I think it could be a mixture.
Yeah.
As you say, somebody could have the right person, but they can't.
It's chicken and egg as well, because you could go, right, well, I've got the third van, I've got the right team there, and then now you're actually going, right, I'm trying to manage now these 3 teams, but I actually need to keep that work coming in as well.
Aye.
It is a big challenge. We spoke about it off air as well. Like there's probably a couple of companies that's done it, maybe in landscaping, and then like me as an example in the roofing industry. Like I had the exact same problems, but I think there is just a chicken and egg scenario where you go, I'm going to go through it, and I'm just going to somehow make it work, and then the people that's done it must just have just stood in that uncomfortable bit for that wee bit longer. But maybe there's an element of luck as well. There could be an element of luck. Now, don't get me wrong, like there's definitely a process to it. There is, right, systems, processes, make sure everybody's all knows what they're doing as their specific worksheets for every job, so that you can't be there because you're over here selling and bringing the work in to keep these guys busy. And then you get one of your most experienced guys can become the supervisor, your missus or your sister or your auntie, or you get somebody in, they do the admin and the finance part, and then, you become like almost like the marketer and the sales guy of your own business. So it's that sort of 3-circle analogy of marketing and sales, operations, admin and finance, and you try and get these 3 bits filled, and that lets you get a bit more of an overview of even though you're this marketing sales guy, you're probably actually getting a wee bit more time in between to go, right, how are we recruiting here? How are we doing things a wee bit differently? And I think it's when you start to give bits away and then get it to be sustainable without you right in there that you can then start to actually, and it's so cliche because you'll hear this everywhere, LinkedIn or wherever, like you start to work on the business rather than in the business.
Yes.
Now, if you're in there and you're doing all this stuff, you're working with a labourer, then you need to go and check this other guy's work and check that, and then you need to go and do a quote after work, or you've got to go and grit that night, then how's the business ever going to grow, really?
I know.
But it's almost a case of it's probably a decision, a firm decision to say, I'm going to go through that ceiling and I'm just going to make it work, and I'm going to become the person who I have to become to do that. And it's like, how do you do that? Well, you need to start putting stuff back. Like we spoke about it. It was all fair, but how trades guys just, oh, you just get phoned all day off everybody. But 9 times out of 10, they're just phoning you to say, oh, I've came across this wee problem, boss, and I don't know what to do. What do you think I should do? And then as you get better as a manager and a leader, you actually go, you already know the answer, so what would you do? And then they go, oh, I was just going to do X, Y, and Z. And you're like, would you be happy with that? Would you do that in your own garden? Yes, yes, yes. And then it's like, just do that then. And I think probably if you do that so many times, you can then put a process that's in place that they can maybe have it in the worksheet or however you're dealing with the guys. We used to be paper form, but it's all job management software now. But there could be something in there that says, if X happens, do Y and Z. If it happens this way, just do that. And then that becomes like the values of the company. Like we used to have it where we would have things where, like if you're doing a roof, something can always pop up. It's a wee bit different. You'll be the same with the landscape and stuff. It's like a garden looks just like any normal garden until you rip it up. Same with a roof. You take it off and you go, how do we put this thing together? But we used to have it where it would be like my guys phoning me saying, look, we're going to need like a wee section of lead here to make up a wee detail that just nobody could have foreseen, because it's been done like this for 60 years. God knows how it's no leaked, but we're going to need to make it better so that when we do it, it's actually got our guarantee on it. So my guys just used to get into the knowing of, that's fine, go and buy a roll of lead. And we had a trust and an understanding there that they would get the roll of lead, they would use, the metre square it, whatever they needed, they'd use that, they'd bring the bit back to the yard, I'd know about it. And that was probably just around building trust and values. And what those guys loved about that was that they weren't getting me going, just use whatever you've got.
Aye.
Because straight away then that's going to then encourage on site that your company now becomes a company that cuts corners and stuff. So they knew, look, if you're ever unsure, let's just get the job right. And I sometimes would lose a wee bit of money because we'd bought a wee bit of extra material or it took a wee bit longer. But in the long run, I was thinking, well, I'm out. They know that if they can just do how they would do in their own house, have our values, make sure they're going to get it right, then I know I've got comfortability that I'm away, right, I'm going and marketing here, I'm selling jobs, I'm getting you more work in, guys. You've done, and we were just, you're hitting reviews as you go, customers happy, they know that you went the extra mile, you did the wee extra bit just to make sure everything was right. The guys are, and it's probably easier as the squads are smaller as well. And that's where culture probably comes in. You've probably heard that. I know you were on James Sinclair's podcast. He talks about it a lot with the 12. If there's 12 people at the table, it's probably manageable to a point. Like, culture's quite easy, but if you imagine going out for dinner with like over 12, like you go out with like say 20 people, it all becomes like, this person like there's somebody who splits the bill and they're like, oh no, I only had like 1 drink and you had like 3 drinks, and you've got this squabbling, and then you need somebody who actually goes, well, no, the culture here is we're all equal, or we do this. So I don't know if that's making sense. Like, I'm just kind of trying to fire a couple of ideas around with what like that might trigger something in the mindset. But as I said to you, like, you already know how to do it. You're just not really kind of committing to doing it.
I know it is scary making that jump. I've had my fingers burnt.
Yeah.
And how do I move forward again and try and protect myself like that as well? The culture's massive for us. Last year now, the year before, I taken all my guys to Benidorm for a long weekend. I
mind you telling me that, because I was messaging you back and forward, and I think I was saying something about culture, or what do you do for the guys? I think I mentioned employee of the month. You went, I took them to Benidorm. I went, wow.
It was carnage, but it was the best thing we ever
Yeah.
done. And we've not had the chance to do it since. My
Yeah.
missus will not let me go back.
That's you're banned for that. And I think as well, though, I think that's amazing. I don't think it's long-term sustainable.
No, because
I
you
just
couldn't
don't
do that
think
with
you
12
could.
people or
I
20.
don't think you could do that every time. And I remember very similar, like some of the guys that was with me right from the beginning, like the business just sort of outgrew them a bit, because these wee things that I used to be able to do, you can't do when we've got like a staff who just 40, just be under 45 now. So, like, you can't take 45 people to Benidorm unless like you have done something supreme, do you know? I don't know, you maybe be charging too much or something, I don't know, but I don't think that's sustainable. But we do like the annual team away day, and we'll do the monthly team meetings. We've got weekly team meetings as well, and it's all kind of culture based. It's explaining the values, the vision, where we're heading. Sometimes just getting that stuff on a 2-page document of where do you want to go, that could be the answer to a lot of this. That it might still take you another few years to actually go through that ceiling, but knowing that this is where I'm going to take this. And I think for me, when I had these battles where, like when I came off the tools as such, and I started to have the couple of squads. So it started with, I had my brother was my first ever employee. So he came on as an apprentice. I was 22, just started up, and he was just turning 16. And I was very similar to your story, where you got your leavers form in the morning, you started at 10. My brother like signed his leavers form, and I picked him up at, like, I think it was a Friday, so it was like the half day. Picked him up at half day, and he was like, "Oh, you're taking me home today, bro?" I was like, "No, like, this is it. We've started." I was like, I've just done a half shift myself, but this is you're out now. And so we went, and we went up, and we done whatever the roof was that we were doing, or we maybe gone and seen a job and pricing it up or something like that. And so he was my first guy, and then quite quickly soon after, I wanted to give him a proper apprenticeship where he went to college, he learnt it properly, the same way as I had, because I did believe that was a catalyst in just becoming someone.
Of course, aye.
Like, you get that qualification. I don't know about you, but most of the trades guys, we never got anything in school. We didn't really get any of the...
Didn't bother with it,
we didn't get any awards. We didn't get anything that made us go, well, you're great kind of thing. But for me, when I'd got that apprenticeship finalised, I was like, oh, I've actually done something with myself. I've stuck something out for 4 years as well. I'm somebody who can actually engage and stick at something. Anyway, so I wanted my brother to do that, and then I quickly realised, right, he's going to be away at college for 2 weeks at a time, and I'm going to be like up a roof myself. So I took another guy on quite quickly, and he was like a skilled labourer. But that was my first two. So like very soon after, I've got the skilled labourer, I've got him trained up. He had been a roofer already with the roofing company I'd worked with in the past, so I already knew him. And they got the values quite early on, because they're with you all the time, so they understand it. So I got him, encouraged him to get his driving licence, which he went and done, got him trained right up. I actually sent him back to college, because he lost his apprenticeship when we were both doing our apprenticeship with the company we'd worked with. And then... So I'd got him back to college, and he just had to finish some stuff, and then they took him back on, and got him through that. So he became a qualified roofer, and then my brother was going up through the gears as well, and I managed to sort of, right, them two became a team. And then my big one was probably when I actually went and hired a roofer who was like, had more experience than all of us. And that was probably, so what we'd done up until that point was we would, like what you said with the COVID thing, like maybe had like a few squads just teaming onto jobs. So we were doing a lot of that, where we'd maybe have like 6 guys, but like a few of these guys could be like labourers and sort of helping us out. But I'd throw everybody onto the same job, because there wasn't like 2 teams yet.
Aye.
But then I went and hired this other roofer who I'd done my apprenticeship with, and he was like one of my tradesmen at the time. He'd actually been out of roofing, then he'd came back in. And so at that point, like, he needed to kind of learn the ropes again, if that makes sense. So he knew roofing, but he hadn't done it for a wee while, so he'd came back in. But I actually had this vision of, right, if I get him up to speed, then I've got the other guy. And at this same time, my brother's on the come up as well. He's going to, at some point here, take his own job. So I then ended up, I split them. And that was quite a big thing that happened within the company, where the guys were like, they're on that. Like, he's got him working with him, and they've got the tile hoist today and we need it. And there was all these wee things that came up, but the teams sort of split there. And then I took on another apprentice, and then I would like use him I'd go and look at jobs. I'd maybe still do the odd wee job. And then I'd just be like sort of like planting seeds in his brain, like, this is what this company's like. Look, trust and hard work and trust and giving back and like reputation, all your core values. And like, you're just planting these seeds all the time, so you're getting time with him, and then he'd go back and he'd work with him, and so I'd probably still be drip feeding in my message of culture into these people. And then I actually just bit the bullet at one point where I just went, right, I'm going to need more roofers here. And I think we went and hired like quite a few. It must have been like 3 or 4 at the one time, which it was pretty daunting. It was really daunting.
I bet it was.
And so this was back in 2016 going into 2017, and we went from, I would say, like a team of about 6, 7. You'll see it if you go on my TikTok or something. I've got a wee like, started here, finished here kind of thing. But I think there's like 6 years we won an award. It was like Scotland's Best Tradesman 2016. Anyway, so there was like, it went from 6 to, I would say, about 16 that year in 2017. And like, that was crazy wild. So I was working with like a business mentor. I'd been like all pumped fully like this, I can take on the world. And he was like, my business can run profitably without you, like, you'll smash it. And I was just like, I was just so high on it. And then I'd worked out a sales process. I'd worked out the marketing. So I was like hammering Google ads, and I was getting out within 2 days to everybody, and I was getting the quote back within 2 days, and I was following up, and I was selling jobs. I'd never looked at closing deals before. It was kind of naturally happening. But now I had a proper sales process in place, and I had all these guys. And then the first guy that I took on, no my brother, but the other guy, he came off the tools and he started to supervise all the squads. He knew the values, he knew where we'd come from, he knew what the standards were. So he started to come off, and he was sort of helping run them teams. Short of materials, he'd go and take it out. They've got a question with something, he would go, well, you know what Jamie always says, we use a wee bit of extra material to get the job right, or we'll do that, like maybe get that team to help that team to finish a job up, and then once you're done there, go and help there, and just trying to get everybody to be all one team rather than, they've finished early, they're away home, but these guys are working late. And we tried to, so we had gone above the kind of, I think the setup of the 16 would have been myself, my sort of ops guy, I had an office manager, my wife had been in the business in and out, but then one of my mates' wives, she came into the business because I think my wife was gone off on like maternity leave or something like that. So that wee kind of 3 circles that I was telling you about, it was almost like ops manager, I was doing the marketing and sales bit, I'd had the ops manager came in here, and then I had the office manager was doing the admin and finance. So we had those 3 circles, then the guys below, and we had the sort of like squad leaders, and then the apprentices and the labourers. So the reason I'm telling you is because I'm hoping this is going to give you one insight or another to the 3 van conundrum that we were talking about, even though it's a wee bit long-winded. But so everything was great because the work was coming in, we were smashing through it, customers were happy. There was issues were coming up, but we were just realising, right, that's a callback to that job. We've never really been in this situation. We've had so many squads out before, so we'll go back, we'll fix that, we'll make it right. And we just kind of went with this the function of as long as we take care of like the reputation and the culture here. So that means happy customer, happy staff, the profit should come. So we kind of went with that. We weren't going to rip anybody off. We weren't going to cut any corners. We weren't going to try and like fleece the guys and make the customer happy, or fleece the customer, make the guys happy, and then. Like, so we knew the profits would kind of come, but we were taking a lot of risks, like what you spoke about, like just signing finance. I was getting another van. I was just taking as many as the finance companies would say, you can get another van. And I was like, all right, another team on the road. So that was all fine. And then I went away on holiday to America. Like, I thought this was it. I've done it now. Bearing in mind, like that's close on nearly 10 years back now, even. So I would have been like 3 years in at that point. I've been at it 13 years. And so I was like, this thing runs without me. I've got an ops manager, I've got this, I've got that. But what I didn't have was the sales bit. So that was a big animal that I had to like really cater for. So we went away to America, bit of a dream holiday. Took my wife and kids over to Florida, Disney World, and I was like, this is brilliant. Business will run without us when we're away. I think like the first day we got there, there was like a big accident on site. Like a ladder came down and like smashed into somebody's head, burst them open. See now, like that wouldn't even be a big deal. Like be a bit of shame for the person it happened to and that. But I wouldn't get phoned on holiday about that now. Like I've got a team there, they deal with like, do you know, there'll just be so many things in place, right? Let's get that dealt with. But that was like massive when we were away. But we went away and we thought everything was fine. And then when we came back, it was like you could just tell like the scheduling of the work that the ops manager and the office manager were doing was like, the guys aren't really that busy. Like you've only really got them. Well, like so they were maybe like resisting a wee bit because obviously like when I've been in charge, it's been a quick like schedule that, do that, do that, and then I'm away doing sales and marketing and whatever, and then it was almost like the work they'd stretched it out. So we were like, all right, we're busy, but actually when you looked at the schedule, I was like, we can get that done in like a couple of weeks, no like the 6 weeks yous have got on these whiteboards that we had at the time. And then I was like, we pushed it all in and I was like, oh, we're really running out of work here. Like we were running out of work really fast. And we had like, I think we had probably, it would have been like 12 or 13 guys or something like that. So they would have been squads of 2s and 3s depending on the size of the jobs. But so you've got a few squads out there. And came back and I was trying to like get things going again. Wasn't quite getting in the rhythm. Like I don't know what was really happening. If it was like just it was getting this was like getting to like October time. The market was like maybe tightening up a wee bit for Christmas or something like that. The leads didn't seem to be like just the same way, and it was like we were just it was the wheels were just falling off, and we ended up. I had this thing in my mind where the place that I'd came from, where I'd done my apprenticeship and became a roofer and stuff, you used to just come in on a Friday and they'd be like half the team would be away, or half a dozen of the guys, right, with no work for his user paid off. So I always had it in my mind, I'm never going to be that guy. So when I took all these guys on earlier in the year and I said, look, this will be a job for life. If you can work out here and you get it right, like we'll look after you, we'll pay you what we can, the most we can pay you, we'll always look after you, like everything will always get progressively better as this company grows. Like I wasn't going back to these people to say, look, I've told you to leave that job and now I've not got nothing for you. So I kept them all.
That's my biggest fear.
Yeah.
Telling somebody they've not got a job because it's something I've done, whether it's overspent or no one enough work.
Yeah. So you take all that responsibility on, and that is exactly how I felt. So I was like, I cannot like let go anybody here. So I was like trying to pull work in from all areas. I think we're predominantly private homeowners we were working for, but I was now trying to clutch at straws to go do some house builders like site work. We'll maybe take on some stuff for other like developers or builders here, and it was all low margin stuff just to kind of try and get us by. And we were losing money. I think we lost like 30 grand that year. I know it doesn't sound a massive amount, like, but 30 grand in the Reds, like, you know, we were every week we were minus 25 grand in our overdraft. So we were literally just floating above water. And like, there was weeks where I was like, I don't know how we're paying them wages. There was one week where, I'm almost telling you the risks here. Like I did come through this, believe it or no, but there was one week where like there was just nothing on the schedule for the following week. And I actually feel like I always thought we had 16 guys there, but maybe it wasn't as much as that. Maybe it was 16 overall. We could have been 20, but staff overall. Maybe it was less. Just say it was sort of 12 guys out there anyway, but 12 guys, and I've been out trying to sell all week and make things happen, but I'm actually the actual running of because we took on new guys and they didn't really have their values, we hadn't nailed the culture on. So there was guys that were kind of like, they're leaving early, they're stealing a wee bit of material, this is happening here, they're using the van when they shouldn't be, and do you know, like there was things like that happening, and my ops guy, like he'd kind of lost control of it. It was like these guys are all older than us as well. Like we've employed guys here that's been in it a long time. They're quite smart, they're quite shrewd, they're quite manipulative, some of the guys that I had. So in hindsight, the people that was doing the stuff to us like that, we should have just got rid of, because we weren't going to be a fit for the company. But I had that thing where I was like, I've offered them something here, I'm not going to do that. So we kept kind of trying to plod on. I ended up having to like have this big massive like weekend of sales where I was just like locked myself in the office a full weekend and was just phoning everything that I'd looked at that full year or the last 18 months. And I was like, look, I could do you a deal if we do this job next week. I've got a space that's came up. And, you know, you're trying not to look desperate, but we were desperate. And I managed to land a few, but I actually had like full squads. So I managed to get some of these guys placed we got like this big lead work job. So I had a couple of lead work specialists at the time, and it was like them two were like 9 labourers, you know. It wouldn't have been as much as that. It would have been like them two and like 5, 6 labourers, everybody on that one job just to like
keep them going.
Get them going. And like, but the job took way longer than it should have because it was only really for 2 men for this amount of time, but I've got like 6 men and it took the same amount of time. And so we're losing money, but I know I'm just buying myself time. And, you know, I'm speaking to the VAT man. And I'm saying, look, I'm not going to be able to pay you, but I will pay you. But if I pay you all the new, we're done. So can we get a payment plan? Yes. So I was like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. I thought we were bust this week. So we're no bust now. And I'm like, great. So I'm like, PAYE, I'm like, can I do that with you as well? Aye, you can do that. So payment plan. I only ever done that like that one time. It was not something I would recommend, but if it's better than going bust. It's better than going bust. But what I was learning during this time was, but I'm going to need to change the habits though. I'm definitely going to need to change the habits. And then, so we ended up, we won like a big, massive slating job. Another few things came in and we managed to just ride the storm. We got through it. Into the new year, I tidied it up a bit. The ones who I actually knew were like definitely stealing, were like, you know, leaving early and all of that. I just had to get tougher because I was like, I just woke up and went, I've got a responsibility, people, but they've got a responsibility to me as well. They're contracted to 40 hours. They need to hit a certain amount of targets or something here, or like at least cover themselves or whatever. We need team players. So we started to rebuild the culture and stuff. So for me, it was very much like you in the early days where you didn't give up. You kept chapping the doors. You could have just went, well, I'm not getting an apprenticeship, but you never. So I did the very same thing as what I'd probably done to get my apprenticeship. I did the only thing that I knew was, right, I need to fight my way out of this. And would you call it luck to a point? Maybe some elements of luck there, like because if one big extra bad thing went wrong, like maybe we would have been bust. But like the resilience I learned during that period, like the new kind of set of values I had, probably more for myself to go, all right, I'm going to offer people jobs, but it's on the basis of, look, you've got a probation. If you're not doing X, Y, and Z, you're not following these values, we'll only be able to keep you. But by the way, if you're like, come in here, you're a team player, you can adhere to our values, you do good quality work, we'll keep you forever. And I'm always I don't think there's anybody that's ever left that's been following every value, everything, and they've been let go because we've not had enough work. Like that's the people, even nowadays, if it tightens up, I'm like, you know who you're keeping. They've got the core values, they've got all of that. And so I think there is a bit of like, you go through a learning curve there. Sorry to hijack everything.
Oh, no.
I hope that helps though, but I just,
of course.
you know, I hope that kind of just trying to get that bit across. And anybody who's maybe listening to the podcast, they might not have heard the story quite in that way before, but like, there's probably so much to pick for that.
Aye, definitely.
Do you know, like, I did get, so I had a big fear. Everybody was saying to me, oh, you'll be back in a couple of weeks. When I left, like, handed my notice in. You probably got it as well, do you know? That's me away, and you'll be back to the gritting in a month, pal. But and then people were saying to me, don't get too big too quick. And that was like, my mum, my dad, like the closest people to me, don't get too big too quick. I was like, what do they mean by that? And that's probably what they meant. But I was like, well, I've done it now. Like, and I probably thought at times,
make it work.
I thought I was invincible at a point. I was like, the sales process was just, everything I touched just turned to gold. I was like, this is actually incredible. I was probably pricing wrong somewhere at one point as well, because we'd probably grown the overhead and not quite realised that the costings needed changed. But we learnt so much from that. So that to me is, that took us from very much the 3 vans to, I don't know what it would have been. Maybe it would have been like 10 or something like that. Was it whatever it was? But like, it was full teams. It was actually now, right now there's like half a dozen actual tradesmen who run a job, as opposed to, you know, you've got this guy who can kind of do it, but you need to oversee him, and you've got the guy that still works with you. And so I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope it does in some way.
100%. It's somebody that's been there and done it.
Yeah.
Been trying to do for the last however many years.
And I think it's looking at it as well and going, right, like, and you could probably, do you know, fair, we could probably do a bit more of a deep dive into it all. But even if you go away and you have a think about it and you have any questions, you can ask me. But, do you know, it's writing down, right, what was the key bit? Where did it go wrong? Right, how do I make sure that doesn't happen? Do you know, maybe I went a wee bit too fast. I could have like, why did I need like 4 like guys? Like I got started all these 4 tradesmen at the one time, whereas it could have been 1 or 2, or do you know, it was just bit like, for me, I've always been quite an all or nothing person. So I was like, no, like get them in and
let's go for it.
Aye, and but maybe that's been the winning thing. Maybe that's been the success. So like, it's not really for me to say this is right or that's wrong, but it's just there's the way I did it. Here was the loopholes, and here was the downfalls, and then you've just got to probably just back yourself. If you're going to go for it, then it's just go for it. And I think at the same time as well, it's I believe that a business should be like a profitable business that runs without you in it.
Definitely.
I do. Like, if you've given 10 years of your life to this, I can only imagine the sacrifice you've put into it. So any trades business owner that's listening to this, like, you deserve freedom and profits.
Definitely.
That's like,
that's what you do.
You're not getting for 10 years to do that. And I know you said, you know, you just wanted to earn your money, your own money. It's maybe no, like, it doesn't matter how much or whatever, but that's all limiting beliefs that's in us that can be removed. Because you just have, like, for the guys that's out there doing this stuff, we should be rewarded properly. And and again, like, if I go back to that kind of philosophy that I've got, that's the reputation plus culture equals profit. As long as you've got like a win-win-win, I don't think anything's wrong. I'm not saying go out and rip customers off at all costs.
No, of course not.
Charge through the moon and you'll get paid. Like, you know, you should be freedom profits, and you're sitting there and you're in the Bahamas with your feet up and everybody else is struggling, you know. But I think there's just a balance to it. But
it's exactly what I hoped to kind of hear when I came today. So it's how you get for you in a van to you and 20 guys, and the problems that you shared there. Everybody's in the same boat. Somebody's boat might be a yacht, somebody's might be a canoe, but we're on the same boat paddling against the tide. But it was good to hear your kind of story and what you've went through. And we got an overdraft, and don't ever want to be in it. It's a safety net, because you've got the lorry. You've got to always show X amount of money in the bank when you've got them, and then you buy a second one. You've got to show X amount for that. It can be an overdraft, can be your bank balance, can be a credit card or whatever. So I thought, well, if I'm always showing that, I've always got a bit of give. And then we get knocked on 2 jobs last year, and we had a job that was supposed to last 6 weeks, and it lasted 4 months.
Wow.
So last year money was tight, and we went into the overdraft for the first time, and I'm thinking, oh my God, once we're in it, we're going to get out of it, and then folk are dragging their heels with payment.
Yeah.
But we got out of it. We're on the right road now. So
that's the resilience that's built, though. See when people go through stuff like that. Like, I think sometimes you've got to be grateful for it, as hard as it is in that moment. Like, that's the bit where you go, no, a lot of people like go to that edge and feel that pain and stay in it and stick with it. Like, a lot of people would just go, I'm just giving up, this is all too much.
It's probably the wake-up call I've needed, because every year we've come out of the gritting, and the bank balances look good, and you think, well, I've got this money in the bank, I don't want to pay it on tax, I don't want to pay it on VAT or whatever, I want something to show for it. So you go and buy another machine, you go and buy a digger. Or last year when we were kind of running the lorry, we started getting into recycling the soil and the stone and everything. So we're making topsoil, and we're making recycled type 1. So you go and buy a screener, and you go and buy a big digger, and you go and buy a crusher, and then it gets to Christmas and they're sitting idle because you can't do that in the winter, and you go, I've still got this to pay. How am I going to do it? And the payments are still coming out regardless of whether you're in your overdraft or not. So now that wake-up call is, I'm not buying anything this year.
Yep.
I know all these companies that are trying to sell me stuff, if they watch this, they'll be like, oh, come on. There is still stuff we could get that would take the company forward, because I don't really like hiring, because you're getting a machine off somebody that's maybe not being maintained right, and there's you go to use it and something breaks, the last person didn't tell the company about or whatever. And having the flexibility. So we used to hire diggers constantly, bought my own, and a week's hire money is a month's finance.
Yep.
But if you've got the digger on the job for that extra week, like not just digging out, loading your type 1, loading your sand into the barrows. The guys aren't tiring as quick, so the job's getting done that wee bit quicker, and the efficiency kind of builds.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it. Whereas now we're back to hiring because we've got 2 teams, we've got 2 diggers at the one time. So now I think, well, I could buy a bigger digger so that we've got that flexibility. We've got the micro, we've got the wee one. But this year, after getting into the overdraft, that wake-up call is make sure I'm never back in it.
Yeah.
It's only there as a fail-safe if we ever need it, but you don't want to be anywhere near it.
Yep.
So now I need to look at how do we increase what's coming in, how do we decrease what's going out. So there's a couple of vehicles I paid off this year. I'm not going to replace them.
Yep.
They're just going to stay there until they die, basically.
Yeah. I've got a few like that, actually. It's just no long since went. It feels like only 10 years ago or whatever, they were brand new or something, and then they're probably not even been as thingy as that, but you're just like, they've just been so battered by the roofers, ladders on the top, putting stuff in the side door, silicon down the side. But no, that makes a lot of sense. I think that there is a lot of investment back in. I think it's constant with business.
Oh, definitely.
So it is just sort of getting. I think really, it's probably quite easy to say, but I think like if you could get a wee bit of a business plan, like a kind of 2-page, right? You can get like a 10-year target, like what we run with Taylor Roofs, but you could have a 10-year target, a 3-year picture, 1-year plan, and then break it into 90-day chunks. It's not that helpful to go, oh, it's the 10-year vision. Sometimes you need to get a wee bit of actual movement first and go, right, well, that's all fine and well, but what are we doing right now? But sometimes just to get out of your own head, a wee bit of time to just like sit and go, if I can forget about this, what, like if it was all going to go right, what would I want? And then you go, right, okay, and how would this business look when it's finished? So think it in 10 years. What do you want it to look like? Because you've just been 10 years. You've done well, you're still in business, you've invested in. I'm sure you've gave loads of good opportunities to people. They've had good jobs, been with you a while. Some people have came and went probably, but they've always probably left a better person. You've put your stamp on everybody. You've helped loads of customers, loads of businesses. So you've done so much in 10 years, but what does the next 10 years look like? And just write it. I'll give you some stuff on this, by the way. I'll once we're done, I'll give you some bits and bobs away with you. But just put pen to paper to say, in 10 years' time, I want it to look like this. This is the kind of management team that I want. This is the sort of work that I want to be coming in. This is the machines I want to have. And then every decision's then built on where will I be in the future if I make this decision now? No just, it's put me in the overdraft. But, so when you're getting this bit in the overdraft, you need like a cash flow spreadsheet. You need a couple of tools like that'll go, we're going to be in the overdraft there, but we need this by then, and that'll fix that all out. And then you can, you start to have targets and you're driven. Once you start to get your mind into that stuff, you'll fully step into a new identity. Like, you'll not be like, oh, I'll just do that job myself because it'll make me a wee bit more money than now. You'll go, you'll start to think, like I said on a podcast a few months back, I was on somebody else's, but I'd said, like, I used to have this mate who was a paint and decorator. He had his own paint and decorating business. And he said to me, in order for you to... He was doing some business coaching as well at the time, and so was I, and we were trying to grow our businesses and stuff. And he was like, in order for you to grow your roofing business, you need to start to think like you were me. If I was running your business... and what he meant by that was, like, so I had to think like a paint and decorator. Like, that means, well, I'm not going to go out and fix a roof that day because I don't know how to do it. So I'd be like, right, okay, so like the same way as if I was running a paint and decorating company, if one of the guys doesn't come in that day, I'm not then going, right, well, that means I go and paint that room. I'd be going, right, what do? We split that team, we could do that, we could put him there. That guy doesn't always do his own jobs, but we can maybe take a wee risk on him in the day. He's been asking to take the next step. Can we get him on it, but with an extra bit of support? Can the supervisor go there? So you come up with like new problems. So it's a new mindset for... See this where you want to be in 10 years, once you earmark what it is, you're then on the journey of almost like, I think it was Jim Rohn that said that, I've heard James Sinclair saying it as well, be times do equals have. So if in 10 years time you want to have this type of business, who do you need to be and what do you need to do in order to have that type of business? you can't take them calls. You need somebody else to take them calls, because in 10 years' time, if you're still taking them calls, you'll not have that business that you were looking for. You'll need to maybe need to put your prices up. You maybe need to not buy too much stuff at the one time, but you buy the specific things at a set time, or do you know? And it's like that's just gone through artificial ceiling after artificial ceiling, and I'm always at a new one. Like, I'm still heavily investing in my personal development every year. Just back from a trip to Costa Rica, which was quite a spiritual journey, actually. But I've found that when you can't find answers out there anymore, you've got to go within.
Aye, of course.
And you've got to go, sometimes there's nobody really with a clear pathway to say, oh, here's exactly what you need to do. Like, even me sharing with you, because you might look at my business and go, right, we'll maybe do just shy of 4 mil this year. 40 odd staff, 20 odd vans. I've got, all the day-to-day stuff is all done. The calls coming in, the surveys, the estimates, the selling, the job getting delivered, the contracts managers, the sign-offs, the materials being bought in and ordered, all the guys on the tools. That's all handled. So that'd probably be your dream maybe right now to go in 10 years. That'd be all right. If I do that, I'll be happy. But then, you level up. So I think it's almost just understanding that this is a constant evolution all the time. So even for me, whereas many people would probably look and go, oh, that's great, like you're podcasting, you're doing your consultancy, you've got the roofing business, which is to an element running without me. I'm not saying it's 100% runs without me all the time and everything's perfect, because it's just a business like any other one. Key people leave, I might get pulled back in a wee bit. So we lose out in certain jobs. I might need we need to do something here. So you're always kind of focusing on the marketing and that front end and stuff as well, and just pushing that business forward and being the leader it needs to be. So I'm not by any means saying, I've completed it and that's how it's done, because it's a constant evolving thing. But if I took this back 5 years ago and I had that in place, I'd feel like I was done then.
Aye, of course.
So it's that constant evolution. But I think it's just a decision for you to just go, where do I want to be in that 10 years, and then just start working it back. And then in this quarter, you'll be like, right, by the end of this quarter, where do I need to be? You didn't need to do the 10 years. In that quarter, you just go, does this align with what we're going to try and achieve? And because sometimes people get to a point where you're like, do I just tighten this all up and get it right back to me again, and then it's really in control and it's manageable? Well, that's fine, but no, if you really want the 10-year plan that's like you're not in the business and it runs without you to an extent. So you then can go, no, because I'm already on this journey, I've done 10 years. So, but I think that's a personal thing. I think that's sometimes, people could say, oh, you just go for it, just get it done. I think you need to decide on that. And when I say you, I mean anybody who's listening or anybody I ever speak to. It's like, and deep inside, there was a reason you wanted your own destiny. When you're sat in the mighty van going, nah, there'll not be another year of this. Aye. You took that plunge then. So it's very similar now. You're just at the same ceiling again, and it'll be all the same pain. But you're 10 years on, you've got all this understanding. It's just really, do you want to have another 10 years of the same?
No. Don't want another 10 minutes yet.
So, or it's like you want to shoot through it, and there is steps to it. And it doesn't always happen in that just a sequential way that, oh great, like if you thought it say a 6 steps to business mastery or something like that. You've seen certain frameworks like that out there with certain coaching organisations and stuff. Like sometimes you've done 80% of step 1, you've moved to step 2, you've done 50% of step 2, you've moved to step 3, you've got 30% in there. Step 4, you've got 20%. Step 5, you've got 20%. Step 6, you've actually got, which I would say, say step 6 was you become an investor, say, right? So you're going for maybe self-employed to say investor. There's people who's maybe investing in property, but their business isn't running without them. So they are an investor, but they're not an investor who is got businesses that runs without them and takes money for that business that operates without them and puts it into another business, and then that multiplies, if that makes sense. So there's just so many parts to it that when you get into that world, I think the other world starts to dissolve, and you just go, right, I'm not on the tools, I don't do this, I don't do that. Now I need that B times do equals have of, right, well, what people am I going to need to have in here, and how am I going to actually onboard them, and what's the but the thing about bringing it all back to the 90 days is who's the next person you need? right now? Like, what's the next best move you could make? It might just be a labourer, but it could actually be like, oh, it's somebody to do the sales. That's maybe that could be quite a big step where you're like, oh, I've never given that bit away before. So it might not be that. It might be the ops person that just starts to run the ops, and then you just build a plan, right? Okay, well, cash flow spreadsheet. Like, how am I going to make sure this actually happens? Then you just back yourself. Like, I got through it because I was like, well, I'm not giving up. I'm not paying people off. I probably should have. But it wouldn't have been the right thing to do at that time because I'd never learnt them lessons. At the other side of it, I realised, right, these people were stealing, that was happening. I should have paid a half a dozen people off. It had made everything easier. But I learnt by lived experience that people will shaft you as well.
Aye.
Even if you recruit the best way possible, there'll still be bad people out there,
100%,
unfortunately.
aye.
So because you're a good guy, or anybody that's a trades business owner could be a good guy, doesn't mean everybody else will be good guys. So you still got to have a bit about you that goes, nah, I'm not putting up with shit.
Aye,
But
of course.
I'll be fair. I'll give everybody the best opportunities I can. Hopefully that helps a bit, mate.
Aye, 100%. Aye. Definitely.
And, aye. What do you think's the future for you then?
Well, 10-year time, I would love to be sitting in the Bahamas with my feet up.
Aye,
But
me as well.
I've not got patience. That's my problem.
Right.
See, if I want something or I want something to happen or whatever, it's got to happen there and then. When I was in the builders merchants one day, they said we blame it on Amazon because everybody gets everything next day.
Yep.
So nobody's any patience now. So that's me. If I think a machine will do the job quicker and better, I don't even think about it.
Yep.
I'll sign the finance agreement and then I'll worry about paying for it.
Yep.
But I need to kind of change my mindset around about that now. I need to sit down, plan, because when you're learning your trades as an apprentice, nobody teaches you about business. No. You just muddle through and make the mistakes that somebody older than you could have told you not today. But you need to learn from them, I think.
Definitely.
It's all right listening to somebody that said, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. But if you don't do them, you don't learn how to do the next three things.
There's nothing quite like lived experience.
100%.
At the same time.
Because everybody's is unique.
Yeah. At the same time, it's like, I do believe in sort of coaches, mentors,
of course.
or somebody, because it gives you, like, for example, there, the stuff I'm sharing with you, you're like, right, I wouldn't do that, but I would still go for it, but you would find a different way, do you know, and then, do you know, we can maybe pick it up later again and you can say, right, well, what would you do with this? And then I could give you a wee bit of input or whatever, but there isn't nothing like lived experience. There just isn't, but you didn't want to, you're trying to avoid you didn't fail unless you actually give up, but you didn't want to be in the brink, say, it's going to take me like 5 years to pay this debt off or something like that, or like I'm never, like, so you're trying to get there with it, like, with limited bumps, I guess, along the way.
Definitely.
There was, when you mentioned the builders merchants there, it just remembered me something, see, with that identity shift again. So I had a few teams, but I was still sort of like picking up materials, dropping things off for guys in between looking at jobs, still doing a bit of everything really. And I was in one of the merchants, and it was a guy who was my tradesman when I was serving my apprenticeship, and he had his own company now as well, and he was like, oh, what are you up to? And I was like, oh, I'm just picking up some materials, dropping off for the guys. And they're like, oh, you just in the office all the time now and that? And I was like, pretty much, but I need to get out and pick stuff, and I still do surveys and all that. He's like, oh, you're a lazy bastard. Do you know? And I was like, and it actually stuck with me, because I was like, well, he's kind of like not a mentor, but like a peer, like a guy, like, do you know, he was a good tradesman, and I worked under him, and I was like, what people think? And then I was like, but I always had like a really hard work ethic, and I was always, so like, it's taking that hard work ethic and putting it into being a businessman, working as hard as you possibly can. Say the next 10 years for you as a new apprenticeship, like 10 years to become a businessman who sits in the Bahamas, if that's what it is. I think I threw the Bahamas out there, so that's your dream now anyway. But I'm sure you'll have a version of it, whatever it has to be. But do you know, it's like you need to go back onto the bottom rung again. Now I'm like a novice businessman. I'm right at the bottom of the ladder. And I'll show you some of my frameworks. I'll give you some away with you if I can the day. Me and Liam, my producer of the podcast, me and him's actually recording some stuff for my online course later on, which has got all my frameworks, like the sort of tradesman pyramid, for sort of almost like apprentice all the way up to like business owner, but then actual like investor as well. Like, you know, how do you get to that point? I was all these different frameworks that just make sense. So where I can probably help you is just by even showing you the framework, so you go, all right, like if I'm at the bottom rung there, there's the ladders, there's the steps to the ladder that I need to go up, and then I've sort of got at the side of it, well, here's how you do each bit, and it's no, I'll never be done for you, but it's almost, right, that makes sense, like you can relate to where you are on the journey, you can appreciate that, right, you probably became the best landscaper you're ever going to become, and now you need to lay that identity down, and now you need to be like, right. And you're not a novice business owner. You've been in business a long time. But what I mean by that is, you know, you taking on that whole approach of, right, marketing, sales, finance, that's all my responsibility, like fully mine. It's no, right, I'll just kind of give that out there, but I just need to kind of go back and do the jobs. It's just taking on that next bit and just, what's the word, committing yourself to probably a new apprenticeship, a business one, do you know, and you'll get there because you had the itch before. So I just can't see you saying, oh, this will just stay the same for another 10 years.
Oh, no, it can't.
Well, that's it.
I'll be climbing the walls.
So you'll go for it. I'm sure you'll go for it. And you've said on the podcast now that that's what you're going to do. We all know the 10-year plan is the Bahamas. So, but nah. That was a pleasure, mate. Did we miss anything? Was there anything else you kind of wanted to cover? I think we got the story and we moved up through the gears. I probably took her quite a bit, but hopefully it was useful.
Aye, definitely.
I don't know, Liam might say I spoke too much on that one, but I just like to share and help a bit, and because I've been there and I've seen it, but no for the point of view like, oh, I know everything. Like, I just know what I know and what worked for me and what never, and tried a lot of different things, and I'm still constantly... Like, I always put myself back on the first rung of the ladder to go, right, I've maybe done this, this and this, but I can never never get complacent and just always, right, what's the next? Like, for me, it's always the exact same thing I said to you. So in this 90 days, like, what's my next best hire? Who do I need to hire in the next 90 days that's going to propel the full 10-year vision forward? And, you know, what's the next thing I need to learn? Or what's the next move I need to make? And, when you chunk it down into that, it becomes a lot less overwhelming. And then when you actually break it down, like I've got like personal wheels of life and business wheels of life. So like, you know, if you look at the areas and one's really, really low, if you score this business wheel of life and one's really, really low, then like start there. Like fix it. Like, do you know, if you're in the overdraft and it's mega bad, then like you're not thinking, right, I'm hiring somebody right now. You're working on some efficiencies and you're tightening things up a wee bit. Like, you're not doing anything mad here to go, all right, I'll just go and take another like 10 guys on. I'll get another few vans because, well, the finance company's letting me take the finance, but you know what, you're actually you're going to just go pop kind of thing. So it's like, it's backing yourself, but in a controlled manner of going, right, I'm taking risk, but I'm not taking... And it's a calculated risk you're taking, and I think going out the comfort zone in itself is quite a big risk. But hope that helps in some way, mate. Hope you've enjoyed the experience of coming on. It was good to see you because meet you in person, because I think I was looking back at my messages. I think it was the first time we spoke was like 2022, and we were chucking a few things back and forward, ideas around business and stuff. So you've obviously been on the journey, and you're obviously got an itch to take it to the next bit.
Definitely.
And it's just removing them limiting beliefs of the 3-van thing or whatever. And even you were saying, you've actually got, is it like 9 vehicles or something like that? So there's just something there where you need to go, how do I keep all of them full and operating at all times? And probably getting to a point where the ones that have to sit in the winter, no worried about that. Like, if you look at like James Sinclair, for example, like he's done he's got the play centre, and then he's got like the experience, and it's like, right, this one tops up that one when the weather's bad there, and when the weather's good they can do all this stuff, and the farm attraction's great when the weather's good, but he's got the indoor stuff for when the weather's bad, and like it's just like that. It's just
covering the rainy days. That's the way I look at it. When I first started, I didn't even know a grab lorry was a thing. Yeah. And then now I've got a grab lorry. Now we're selling materials, supplying to other landscapers, picking up their muck. When I left Mighty, I never ever envisaged anything like that. We've got a yard that we're trying to all set up properly to store materials in bulk and all that. And
brilliant.
It's
well, be proud of yourself, mate. because you've came a long way. 10 years in business you'll be in a very, very small statistic. I don't know what it is, but I think I'm not even going to embarrass myself by trying to rhyme it off, but it's something like most businesses then get by year 1, and then it's less again for 3 and 5. But all the best, mate.
Good man, thanks very much.
Thanks for coming on. Well, guys, thank you for watching to the end of this episode. As always, please remember to subscribe and leave a comment down below to let us know what you thought, and I'll see you on the next one.